and welcome back, my fine feathered friends. It is vlog number 13 of Vignette to Vogue. We just finished talking about architecture, and we're talking more about exteriors when we talk about architecture. But now let's talk about design styles. So interior, right? Interior design. But before we get there, let's talk about some of the elements of what I have on today. So my speech may be a little different because I have incorporated my fronts, my gold fronts, for two reasons. One reason is that the image behind me has a lot of ornate gold elements. So when I was looking at it, I said, hey, I have some gold. So I put on my quarter foil gold earrings, and I said, I'm gonna put my fronts on too, because why not? And later I have my tortoiseshell chain that looks like a gold rope chain, but for the aesthetic purposes of making sure the microphone is not getting hit with that, we have to take it off. We'll put it back on later. You know how we do. We adjust, we pivot as necessary to make sure we bring you the highest quality, but don't fret, you'll see it again later. Another reason I put on my fronts is I was thinking about the Met Gala, which happened not long ago. I did get to go to New York to try and see the red carpet, but that plan didn't work out so well because it was barricaded this year. But I remember a lot of the people on the red carpet, they wore their fronts as an homage to the Black culture, Black dandyism. So as an interior designer who is also in love with hip hop culture, I decided to also wear my fronts. And then the last thing, I was sitting here talking to my engineer, Mr. Leon at Digital Impact Studios, and we were talking about the movie Sinners. And as we begin to talk about these different interior design styles, it put me in the mind of the scene in the Juke where Sammy was singing, and he was kind of invoking the ancestors of the different people there and how music transcends past and future. So in that thread, I wanted to incorporate my fronts too, because this is a part of our past, an African past, an African American past, and future, because fronts are still very much a part of our culture. It's just one of those things that continue on. So all of those things I wanted to talk about. Also, because I looked at these glasses and I was like, these are kind of in the gazelle style, which was an 80s hip hop, glass frame style that hip hop artists like Run DMC made popular. So looking at all of those elements, I wanted to incorporate them in this vlog because I feel like it encompasses who I am as a person and fashion. So this is Vignette to Vogue. Fronts are fashion. Of course, the biggest night in fashion was the Met Gala, and it was paying homage to Black suiting, Black dandyism, and then hip hop culture, and then Sinners. So all those things together. So let's start with talking about these different styles of interior design. So the first style is traditional. So traditional is characterized by timeless elegance that draws inspiration from the 18th and 19th century European styles. It emphasizes classic furnishings, rich wood tones, and detailed craftsmanship, often incorporating elements like crown molding, wainscoting, and ornate details. So some examples of traditional interior design styles are Art Deco, French country, and English country. So as it said in the definition, these styles are traditional interior design is inspired by English and French, right? So because I'm here and in America, the culture of interior design is influenced heavily by the English, the French, the European, the Eurocentric styles of designing. So then let's take a look at what contemporary design is. And I think we have a pretty good idea of what it is, but let's go ahead and define it. It's defined by clean lines, decorated minimalism, and current trends contemporary interiors are distinctly of the moment, even when the moment changes. So in that regard, I would say that contemporary interior design styles are the design styles that are more in, I guess, alignment with fashion, because contemporary is whatever that means for that time. Whatever the design trends are at the time is what your contemporary will look like. So for instance, if I follow a lot of interior design pages on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and designers will be talking about the Pantone colors, the colors that are in for now, the types of, for kitchens, like the types of stone that are in, arches. At one point, arches were out. We were knocking those arches out of our houses and making it streamlined, and now arches are back in. I have a girlfriend, shout out to my good girlfriend, she knows who she is. She had an arch. She got rid of the arch and then she put the arch back in. That's an example of contemporary, because right now arches are in, and mark my word, arches will go back out again. And that's just the contemporary style. Whatever the trends are for the industry, that's contemporary. So examples of contemporary interior design are mid-century modern, Scandinavian, and Japandi. I may include some imagery of what those may look like so that you can get a better idea, but that's mid-century modern, Scandinavian, and Japandi. Japandi is a combination of Japan and Scandinavian. So I'll definitely include a picture of what that kind of looks like. It's very clean, very modern, very minimalist. And then the last and most important style to me, because this is my interior design style, is transitional. So interior design seamlessly blends traditional and modern elements to create a harmonious and timeless space. This style is characterized by neutral color palette, comfortable furnishings, and a mixture of textures and material, resulting in a balanced and sophisticated aesthetic. So, for instance, I like pretty traditional furniture, secretary. I love Art Deco, but it can date, because Art Deco is something that originally was established in like the 1920s, right? So it's 2025. So some of the ornate detail, for instance, I have a tortoise shell necklace that I'm going to put on a little bit later. Well, in the 1920s, when they incorporated tortoise shell in the furniture, it was an actual tortoise. So, of course, now in these days, it's unethical to source tortoises to create elements for interior design. So we have like more of a resin-based. We replicate that idea of tortoise shell with resin, rather than creating the actual tortoise shell element out of the actual shell of a tortoise. So that's why it's called tortoise shell, but it isn't. Not anymore. That is unethical. So those are some examples of why in a modern world we wouldn't do it exactly how they did it in the 20s. You understand what I'm saying? And also ivory. We know that, sourcing ivory from elephants, again, problematic, unethical. So we may replicate that look of ivory in another way and with another aesthetic, but it does not incorporate actual ivory tusks. Okay, and so examples of transitional is modern farmhouse. So we know that a farmhouse traditionally, when farming or agriculture really ran the industry of this country, that wasn't modern. But now we're modernizing. We like the earthiness, the hearthiness, the rusticness of that farmhouse aesthetic, but we want to bring it to today's modern style of living. So modern farmhouse, art moderne. I just basically talked about art moderne, which is Art Deco, but just modernized. Cleaner lines, furniture that's more streamlined, furniture with less curvy finishes and more linear and straight finishes. to make it look more modern, so it could still be in the style, for instance, of a secretary desk, but the legs on that desk may be more just more svelte, more streamlined, not so thick or, heavy like it used to be during the Art Deco time. So it's cleaner, it's modern. As we said, contemporary was those clean lines. So we can go back and forth between how we show appreciation for the styles of the past, but bring them into the times that we live in. And one of the things I wanted to illustrate is how some of the architectural styles that I talked about in vlog number 12 have been made modern. So for instance, remember my favorite interior design architectural style was colonial. So I just wanted to insert a picture of what a traditional colonial, which is a red brick building, and then how architects are taking that same form but using different materials to make it more modern. That is transitional. It's taking elements from traditional style, contemporary, and bringing it to the middle. So elements from traditional and contemporary makes up transitional, and I lie somewhere in the middle. And lastly, I wanted to highlight a young lady that I follow on TikTok and Instagram. Her name is Shane V. Charles. And in these last two vlogs, we really talked about how the influence of design comes from Europe, right? But Shane, what she is doing, she is identifying the African identity in interior design. So she's helping us to incorporate elements of who we are as African people, of people across the diaspora that want to also incorporate our African heritage in our design, in our home spaces, in our workspaces, in our commercial spaces. So Shane V. Charles, please check her out. She is the principal designer and architect of her own interior design firm, but she does an excellent job to me of explaining how to incorporate those African aspects into our pre-existing interior design styles that we have now. So please check her out. Remember to incorporate your own personal style, not only in your home, but in the way that you dress. So that's one of the reasons I just went on ahead and put my fronts in, because that's who I am. I grew up through the golden age of hip hop culture, and it's a big part of who I am. And I just wanted to bring that forward because traditional, transitional, modern, contemporary. Think about that scene in Sinners, if you haven't seen it, where they bring all of that together. It's all one continuum. And that is the important part of showing up as a part of your culture, showing up in the way that you express yourself, in the way you dress, and the way that you design your home. Always remember, please subscribe to my channel, like it, comment. I appreciate your energy. Be yourself. Keep going.
The ombre glasses match the ombre vase and figurines on the table. We have our little box purse reminding us of those zebra ottomans. And our chain link bracelet reminds us of the bamboo mirror, as well as our bamboo bracelets, The gold reminds us of the gold of the lamps. And our orchids, look at our orchids in our hair reminding us of the orchids on the table. We also decided to pair everything with this rhinestone pump that brings the whole look together. And our chain reminds us also of the bamboo mirror. Did we switch out the glasses for the tortoiseshell ombre? Yes, it's Vignette to Vogue, baby.